Welcome, everybody. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, October 6, 2025, and I call this regular City Council meeting to order. And I would like to thank everybody who's joining us tonight, and I would like you to join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And all council members are here this evening, and we have staff present: Director Madden, Director Stallnecker, Director Robeck, and Chief Hernandez. Thank you. And we're on citizen participation. I see that you've given me an empty sheet. So we will move on to additions and deletions. Are there any additions or deletions? Seeing that we have none, anybody like to, excuse me, I'm moving ahead. Next, we have the consent agenda. That's what I wanted to do next. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Seeing no, can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Peretti and seconded by Councilmember Hall to pass the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. So we have two public hearings tonight and two action items. So we'll go on to item 6A, which is the annual update to the comprehensive plan. This is the annual update to the comprehensive plan, and I will turn the floor over to Planning Manager Stallnecker for a presentation. Following the presentation, we will then hold the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Before you is the annual update to the comprehensive plan. This was presented last month during a study session. The city is allowed to update the comprehensive plan once a year. The two items that are on this year's update is basically we went through and we updated the 6-year capital improvement projects and funding sources figures, which is outlined in attachment 1. And then we are recommending changing of the future land use map to designate the properties that are now owned by East Pierce Fire and Rescue to community facilities in anticipation of their new fire station.
I will now open the public hearing at 7:03 p.m. to take public comment on the annual update to the comprehensive plan. And I don't believe we have anybody to speak, so we will close at 7:04 p.m. And now we will move on to item 6B, which is the annual zoning update, another public hearing. So I will turn the floor over to Planning Manager Stallnecker for a presentation. Following the presentation, I will then open the public hearing.
So again, this is a companion agenda item related to the comprehensive plan. These are items that needed to be changed because of the recommended comprehensive plan changes, or just minor things that the planning staff and the planning commission have requested that are just more clarifications. They're not policy changes. So it has to do with kind of expanding the definition of ADU to make it clear that an ADU needs to meet all the codes of a permanent structure, including a permanent foundation. This helps clarify it from people who want to use something that maybe an RV or something that has been licensed and inspected as a temporary facility. So this helps clarify that. We needed to add fire facilities as a conditional use permit under community facilities in the use table. an error was made with the last update, and vehicle repair was not included under business, so that is being recommended to be put back in. And then just again, under temporary signs, under the private property section, it says temporary signs with the same message need to be 100 feet. It wasn't included in the section that talks about temporary signs in the right-of-way, so that just makes those two sections match. And then the final is just to change the property, the zoning map, so that again, the property owned by East Pierce Fire and Rescue is changed to community facilities.
I will now open the public hearing at 7:06 to public comment on the annual zoning update. And seeing that we have nobody signed up for that, having received all comments, I now close the public hearing at 7:06 PM. Now we're moving on to the regular agenda. Our first item is item 7A, the second reading of ordinance 2122-25, update to the comprehensive plan. And Planning Stalnecker, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, just that this was, the Planning Commission held a public hearing, and this is their recommendation.
I will need a motion to open the discussion, open the floor for discussion.
So
Council.
requested.
Councilmember Whalen. So I need a second.
Second.
Ooh, a tie.
Oh, Tim could. Councilman Dwight.
Bear with me. So it has been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Hall to move to adopt ordinance 2122-25, adopting amendments to the 2024 comprehensive plan as shown in Exhibit A. Councilmember Whalen, would you like to speak to your motion?
Well, I just have one kind of question, if you would, if you don't mind. On page 55, the property forecast of future needs. Over the next 20 years, the city will identify a need to expand the capacity of the municipal complex. The property on 15th Street across from Triangle Park is planned to be improved. I thought the plan was removal for that, for the building and so forth. So is that so stated in that comment?
So that isn't part of the amendments, but improvement can be multiple things. So
I was of the impression that the city's plan was to remove the building,
yes,
not improve the building. So that's still in our thought process. Nothing's changed there.
correct. Yeah, it's just saying the property, not the building specifically. So yes, we are still removing the building.
Correct.
I just wanted to be clear in my mind
Yep.
about that.
No, I
So
appreciate that.
Nothing's changed. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Hall?
I have a question as well. What about the old fire station? I don't see anything in here on, I know it's still, should it be here or?
So I don't know if I mean, at this point, we don't know what the plans will be. At some point, I'm sure that there will be future budgets that will determine what those plans are, and then those would get incorporated into this.
Being it's city property, should it be here?
Which I'm not sure.
The actual fire department.
Right.
Because they said they are going to build on, up here on Milton Way. and
Correct.
11. So this should be still identified as a City of Milton facility. They're renting it right now.
Correct. Is it not on a certain page, or?
I just don't see anything that says, that identifies that. Now, maybe I mean, it says inventory of existing facilities. It talks about the police station located 1,000 Laurel Street, forecast of needs. It doesn't say anything about us, or is it too soon?
Yeah, it's probably too soon. At this point, all we've kind of done is sort of just updated the number portions and the year portion. I think as we get a little firmer on the fire station, their timeline and everything, and then I think the city starts deciding what our plans are, then we would have changed certain other aspects of that as well in the document. And we can do that annually. So that might be something for next year as we understand better what the future plans are for that building and the rest of the campus. So
Do we have any dateline, timeline?
for the fire station, probably year and a half to 2 years. They're hoping, we are in discussions of what the requirements are. So they are definitely looking at probably maybe applying by the end of the year, first of next year, but then we have to get through the conditional use process, the civil process. So there's lots of steps.
Sorry, I'm not trying to get off topic. I just want to make sure we have.
Yep, nope, appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you. And thanks for the explanation, but a clarity, because at one time we had considered on using a majority of that building for the police department. And that was in writing within different documents and so forth. Has that changed? And I'm only asking that question because I thought it was of significant consequence for the police to have the additional footprint within the city, not just the offices, but the 4 bays. And now we seem to be shadowing that a little bit. So is that changed for some particular reason? I thought that was the intent.
From my understanding, that's been the most likely plan. I don't know if there's a formal plan in place, but I think that's been sort of the assumption that we would move forward with. But that would be, I assume, next year, the administration, as the fire department for sure starts their process, I'm sure the city would start looking at what makes the most sense for the main campus. But yes, that's the assumption that I think we've all had, is that the police department would make most sense to probably incorporate them over there. But again, there's nothing official yet.
Yeah, official. I think it was officially discussed that the intent would be to support the police department with larger accommodations for all of the complications that the police department has. I just want to be sure that that becomes the #1 priority for that structure, as has been communicated to the council since, I can't tell you how many years and so forth, but I still think that is a viable need for the police department to keep that as a priority 1 for that structure for their intended use. And I don't see anything that kind of prioritizes. It's just like, well, we don't know what we want to do in the next couple of years, so let's not worry about it now. It had been discussed and it had been prioritized for the police department. I'd like to see something that, keeps that consideration as #1 for that facility.
Definitely note that, understood, and we will look to incorporate that next year.
So as a promise to incorporate that segment in writing sometime this year. Am I right in that?
I would say that I will, I guess I'm just one of the entire leadership, and, but yes, I think the intent would be to, next year, I'm assuming that the leadership, whoever's the new mayor, working with whatever resources, facilities, police department, will have a better idea of the plan of that, and that will be incorporated in this document.
I just want to see that as the #1 incorporation for the police department, additional equipment, as we had been discussing over the last few years.
Understood.
That'll be number one priority for that building. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I know that the last time this came up when we had the discussion, that's what was said, is that once the fire department was in their new facility, that then we'd look into, but at that point, it was feasibility if they'd be able to use it, correct? That's what the status was at that time, when this last came up.
I'll just say that there have been no other priorities brought forward for that building outside of a future PD facility of some sort. And so it is still the only viable, opportunity that staff has discussed. And there will be a significant financial burden to that. And so that's something that we need to study further and we need to present in 2026.
I appreciate you hearing that, but I'd like to see it in writing because things changed. But I want to be sure that we, up to this particular point, have an expectation that that facility would be utilized by the police department. Just something in writing saying that that's what we're, as a council, intending its purpose to be in the future, as mentioned by the city and agreed by the city. Just something that puts that as the first concept for that building. And thank you for,
Understood.
yeah.
Councilmember Peretti?
Yeah, I agree. We've had discussions like that, but I kind of want to give my opposite opinion on that, is that we're probably looking at maybe 2 years or so for that to happen. And I'd really like to leave it up to the police department at that time as we go through the study. Is it still a valued position? Is it something that fits the need, or is there something else with the whole campus, looking at the campus? I'm not interested in pinholing it right now because things change so much over a year or 2 years of what could happen and what the needs are in the police department. Understanding that it's viable now, but I really would want to leave it up to the discussion with the police department. Is it still viable, or is there another need that has approached the table at this time?
Any more discussion?
I would agree with Councilmember Peretti that I think that needs to be considered, but I'm a little disappointed that it isn't addressed in this at all. And that, we paid for that study with East Pierce Fire about the feasibility of them turning that into a fire department, and that was next. But have we seen, Chief, that that study that we had paid for? Could we get a copy of that?
My understanding is that there was never a study.
It was cut short.
Yeah, so they never, there is no final study because when they got to the point that it did not seem financially feasible, they stopped to save us all money. So there is no final product to provide, unfortunately.
All right.
There are some cost analysis, which we could provide those to council, that showed if the city was to turn it into a PD facility, what potentially those costs would be, but it was all very conceptual in nature.
Okay, so it wasn't really that much of a study.
It was a feasibility study if it met their needs. Once they crunched the numbers, looked at space and retrofit costs, it didn't pencil out.
Yeah,
So that is a project that, we'll be scoping in 26, 27 about PD needs and conversion.
okay. Director Robeck, do you recall what we paid for that? For
What
that
we paid
study?
for?
For paying for half that study, what do you recall?
I don't, off the top of my head, I want to say like about 20,000 was our portion, but I would really need to verify
Yeah.
that because it was
Oh,
a few years ago. But whatever the preliminary costs were, and that's
That
Director
sounds
Stallmeyer
close. Yeah.
said they cut it short. Whatever those costs were, we split it.
okay, all right. And back to Councilmember Peretti's statement, that I'd like to see something more long-term, what are we going to do with this footprint to see what, what is feasible, what's practical. I agree with him completely on that, so, thank you.
Anybody else before I go to Councilmember Whalen? Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you. And again, I think we would have already been in process of modifying that facility for the use by the police department. What changed was the use of that facility to accommodate East Pierce because their plans changed. And they came back into a rental, you might say, knowing that now they're going to put another department, a fire station off of 11th. So I think it was discussed as the future plans and agreed by the police department, and even the modifications that were made in the offices and so forth, that was the direction we had taken with investing in that structure. And I just want to be sure that we continue using that as the number one considered use of that property before we do anything else. Let it be stated in documentation that that consideration will be priority one to accommodate our police department, and you can make plans for that now up to, not saying we can't change that, but I'd like to protect that a little bit for the police department in writing, that was the agreed upon use of that particular building when we first had thought, and East Pierce had first thought that it would have vacated it long before this time. So just to protect that for the police department. I think that's worthy of stating. We can also state that if something else needs to be utilized by it, it could be a consideration, but just to re-footprint our thoughts about the use of that facility. That's all. It's not an in-stone use of it, but it was so that anybody in the future, because I don't think we're all going to be here in the future, knew that that's what the city had decided or it considered to be deciding for that use of the facility. No, thank you.
Any discussions or any comments from the audience? All right. Seeing that discussions have concluded, the motion is, which was made by Councilmember Whalen, seconded by Councilmember Hall, to adopt ordinance 2122-25, adopting amendments to the 2024 comprehensive plan as shown in Exhibit A. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Going to our last action item of the evening. And this is the second read of ordinance 2123-25, annual zoning update. Planning Manager Stallnecker, is there anything that you would like to add to what you mentioned earlier?
Nope, just again, that this is the Planning Commission's recommendation, and it's before you for action.
Thank you. Do I have a motion before we, Councilmember Whalen?
I'd like to make a motion. Move to adopt ordinance 2123-25, adopting amendments to Title 17 zoning and the 2025 zoning map.
So that was moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Cedar to adopt ordinance 2123-25, adopting amendments to Title 17 zoning and the 2025 zoning map. Councilmember Whalen, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I just approve it and like it.
Councilmember Cedar?
Nope, thank you.
Any other comments? So it was, anybody in the audience, would you like to? So it has been moved by Councilmember Wayland and seconded by Councilmember Cedar to adopt ordinance 2123-25, adopting amendments to Title 17 zoning and 2025 zoning map. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we move on to council reports. I really have nothing. Councilmember White,
I have nothing as well.
Councilmember Peretti,
Nothing at this time.
Councilmember Cedar.
Director Madden, I asked you about the fire hydrant, no fire hydrant on 12th. Were you able to check into that?
12th and what?
12th Avenue.
Oh,
There's
the fire hydrant
fire hydrant.
duration. I will review that again with our team. I had them look at it last week. We've got some senior team members in training. But I think the question was, do we need more hydrants on that street?
Well, that and is, my understanding is there's only maybe one or there's none. So I think that would be a concern.
Director or Councilmember Hall.
The only thing I'm noticing is Transit has moved or taken away the garbage cans that are at the bus stops, except for one in front of the post office. So I'm seeing garbage being strung around. Also, our park only has one by the stage now. There used to be one at the corner going up and one at the corner down by the bench. So I'm seeing some trash there, so I'm not sure what, it seems like they were moved when we had the last Milton Days.
Councilmember Whalen.
Thank you. I'm going to refer to a request I had a little while ago. First, I'm going to say that clearing of the ground shrubbery at the corner of 16th and Milton Way is an improvement because Milton Way, of course, is on a tilt and so forth. But there's still an obstruction to seeing the caution lights on Milton Way across the street from Faith Family Church. I had mentioned that because you get a sign saying, it's be advised that we're going to have, a school zone. But when you turn the corner, Faith Family Church here, and you look down the street, you see that sign, and beside that sign is a rather large limb from a adjacent property that blocks the sight of the lights that you're advising people, or the school zone is ahead. Can that be relooked at and considered?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
We were doing some trimming on that today in some of the locations, but I'll confirm tomorrow that that was done. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I want to give the general public the greatest advantage to not break the law before they break the law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're on to director reports. Director Madden.
Nothing to add tonight?
Director Stalnecker, do you have anything to add?
Just that our department has picked out our theme for the trunk or treat, so laying the gauntlet out.
Director Robeck? And the chief.
Just wanted to report that we had a very large memorial service at the park with about 150 people. We had no issues, so that was a good thing. And good news, the first day of warnings with the camera system started today. So 28th, school zone, and going downhill, Milton, park camera. So the system is now active.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Anything else for this evening? Seeing that all agenda items have been concluded, I adjourn this meeting at 7:30.